Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. I'm Jay Acharya, CEO of Aspire Consulting and Training Limited, and this is the Becoming the Leader in You podcast. In each episode, we explore real leadership stories, successes, challenges, and the lessons behind them. And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and also leave comments. You can also listen to us on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, and many more. Today's guest has spent over 25 years helping organizations stop wasting money. So naturally, finance teams do love him. He's an award-winning procurement and supply chain expert. He's worked globally, transforming how businesses buy, move, and manage operations. He's also a fellow of 5 professional bodies, including Chartered Institute of Procurement and Supply and the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport. So yeah, he's either highly respected or really enjoys exams. Now, as a global consultant, interim leader, and trainer, he helps organizations save money and build stronger teams. I'd like to welcome Andy Neilson of Twisted Orange. Andy, hi there.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm very good. Thank you so much for taking time to come onto the podcast.
No problem.
Excellent. A quick question to you. Considering that your background is in supply, procurement, logistics, is that your superpower? Do you help spot waste before it even happens?
I wouldn't necessarily call it a superpower. I guess that my although I think I probably will use that phrase from now on.
Oh, damn.
I think my skill set is really around best practice, efficiencies, due diligence, governance. A lot of waste is created through unnecessary activities, perhaps, or duplication, and probably a lack of relationship focus. So I guess that's really where my forte is.
Okay. You said lack of relationship focus. What do you mean by that?
I think that I've always said that procurement and supply chain is really down to 2 things, which is common sense and relationships.
Okay.
I think if you've got a fair degree of either of those, you've got a good chance becoming a good supply chain procurement practitioner.
Okay.
I think we all have relationship focus outside of work. It's very important to us. And yet when some of us walk through the door in the office in the mornings, it becomes a bit of an adversarial thing with suppliers. So me personally, I think, suppliers have always given me all the great ideas. I've never had a great idea in my life, but my suppliers have, and that's the way I look at it, to be honest with you. So
I'm sure you do have amazing ideas, and your clients go with the flow with you as well. But whenever I've worked with leaders around procurement and logistics, I've always found that really good leaders and people within those senior positions, actually not even senior positions, but even on the ground floor level, they're the ones that can spot waste in budgets. They can also spot it in people's time and conversations and the efforts that they put in as well. What are your thoughts around that?
I absolutely agree. I think, and I say this with the greatest respect to everybody who's going to be listening and watching this, the higher up you get in the kind of management ladder, the less appreciative we become of, the people that are focused on the operational activities, perhaps, or once you move into that strategic role, you don't have time or the ability to focus on individual activities or processes. So therefore we need to become more listening focused to the people who are conducting those activities. And if you ask the right questions, you're going to get the right answers. They may not be palatable, but actually the people you need to listen to are the managers, the assistant managers, the buyers, at whatever lower level, without wishing to sound derogatory. But the people who are conducting the activities are the best ones to listen to in terms of what would you regard as a waste of time? What would you regard as duplication of effort?
Yeah.
what does the ERP system frustrate you with most?
Uh-huh.
And
And ERP, for those who may not understand, what does that mean?
oh, sorry, my apologies. Enterprise resource planning. So,
That's fine.
yeah, basically the computer system that tells you more or less what's going on in your own business and
Uh-huh.
order processing, receipting, etc.
Yeah. And would you say that with the advance in technologies and AI, it's made procurement, logistics, supply a lot easier, or does it still come with its challenges?
I think it's always going to have challenges. You just have to look at the Middle East at the moment to
Hmm.
appreciate some of the challenges that even AI can't fix. I think AI certainly has its place.
Yeah.
I think, I grew up when data trawling was very manual.
Uh-huh.
Crikey, we didn't even have computers, let alone the internet. So um, it's all very different now. I
Yeah, of
think, AI is a means to an end, but I
course.
don't think it's the end itself.
The podcast is called Becoming the Leader in You. And my first question is, how does that um, transpire into you? How did you become a leader, and what does that mean for you?
Crikey, there's probably two answers to this one. When did I become a leader? Um, Properly early 2000s.
Okay.
Um, was I a good leader? No, I was pretty awful, in fairness. Um,
Why would you say that? When you say, I mean, what behaviors, what did you demonstrate that made you think you weren't good?
um, I think it was expectations. I've always been very driven.
Uh-huh.
I've always been very focused. I was very detail orientated. Um, I've subsequently been diagnosed with OCD, which partly
Okay.
explains perhaps some of my early years behavior
Uh-huh.
when it came to being a leader. Um, I didn't particularly listen. I was very focused on the fact that if I was a leader, therefore I couldn't ask questions. I had to be
Hmm.
right. I had to get everything right 100%, otherwise I
Uh-huh.
was failing. Um, and I think, up until, and just being very honest, up until my mental health crash,
Hmm.
I wasn't a great leader.
Okay.
Yes, I won awards. I had some fantastic teams working for me.
Yeah.
Um, was I the best leader I could have been? No. And I still look back with a degree of horror thinking, wow, I could have done so much better.
Really, I appreciate you being honest about uh, your mental health situation. And first of all, kudos to you for talking about it as well, because I think a lot of people do find it difficult, especially in certain roles and responsibilities, to talk about what's going on behind the scenes.
Mm.
And again, when you're talking about you not thinking that you were a great leader at that time, or whatever pushed that to happen, um, my question would be around what about other people's perception of you? How did they perceive you as a leader? I know you say that you don't think you were, but surely the perception of others around you that reported into or worked with you, surely that perception would be different.
Um, I think based on the feedback and based on the comments I've had from people that used to work with me and used to work for me, then the words being used were driven,
Hmm.
focused,
Hmm.
results orientated,
Hmm.
supportive.
Okay.
Um, but there was always this, huge focus on attention to detail. And
Yeah.
sometimes it just got too focused.
Hmm.
Um, I'm very process driven. I'm very structured and organized. And if having people in my team who weren't the same created discomfort in
Uh-huh.
me, in hindsight and looking back.
Would
Um,
you, sorry to interrupt, wouldn't you
that's right.
say that being process driven or focused, aren't, are they not the traits of a good leader?
I, I think I think they are to a degree, but not when it's all the time. I
Right.
don't think I had the flexibility in me to fully accept that people could get the job done in a different way to the
Right. Okay.
leader, i.e.
Yeah.
me, which looking back now, you go, why on earth would you think that? But at the
Mm,
time, in corporate world, that was the way I looked at it. A leader was there to demonstrate the how, um, and the what.
yeah.
And what I sometimes lacked was the why.
Okay.
And also accepting the fact that you could do the job differently and get the same result.
Yeah.
Also, I was very impatient
Uh-huh.
and fell down as a result of that on a few occasions.
Mhm.
So,
What did that look like? I mean, you say fell down. What does that look like in the terms of a business or individually or as a team?
I think it led to internal tensions. It
Mhm.
led to, I guess, me looking at myself going, this isn't working.
Right.
Um, to a subconsciously, I guess it was a question of, well, it's not me, it must be the organization, it must be the
Right.
leader. And in hindsight, it was me. I mean,
Uh-huh.
there was a couple of occasions where it most certainly wasn't, which sounds quite arrogant, but um, there were um, other circumstances around me leaving the business that,
Yeah.
again, I don't think was all down to me. But so yeah, so I kind of hopped around jobs
Okay.
simply because I felt I wasn't succeeding. I felt I was failing. Therefore,
Uh-huh.
before I was sacked, I left. I mean,
Wow.
that was the kind of the mindset that
Yeah.
that was building up and building up until I just fell over.
Okay. We'll come back to that later on in the
Yeah.
podcast if you're okay with that. But just to talk about when you realized that there was something inside of you that actually made you a leader. When was that? When was the time when you thought, I'm actually doing good, I'm doing fantastic, my teams are performing, I'm performing? At what point or at what stage in your careers would you say you most felt that?
It's a very good question. I guess there was two two times really that brought positives home.
Hmm.
One when I was working in the food industry, um, I was working in supply chain, so outbound supply chain into retailers, and one retailer had basically threatened to delist all our products unless we
Wow.
got the supply chain sorted. Um, and and this wasn't all down to me, but
Yeah.
I that customer was part of my portfolio as a supply chain analyst at the time, as
Hmm.
I was. Um, and we managed to turn it around and we managed to not only maintain the business, but get more. Now,
Okay.
that was, it may not sound a lot, but to me, it was a bit of a, oh, you can do this. You're in the big wide world now, and
Yeah.
you make a difference. So from that perspective, I had nobody reporting into me, but I had people working around me.
Hmm.
Um, and then the second one was winning the SIPS award in 2008.
Okay. And SIPS
So
being
Chartered Institute of Procurement and Supply.
okay. Thank you.
Um, and that was for the work that myself and the team had done around relationship management,
Right.
cost savings, international sourcing. And yeah, that I mean that was a bit of a mind-blowing moment because you never kind of foresaw anything like that happening. The
Uh-huh.
business at we were not an SME, but we certainly weren't big or blue chip by any means.
Yeah.
So that was for me that I always look back on a great deal of pride having
And that
achieved
was
that.
that was a team effort, or that was you leading that
Yeah.
team effort?
Well, I got the plaudits, but it was very much a team effort.
Yeah.
Somebody has to pick the award up, I guess, and I was the team leader,
Yeah.
but it was very much a team thing.
Sure.
Like I said, I've achieved nothing on my own. It's all about teams. So
Right.
even now, as a contractor or a consultant, whatever you want to call me,
Hmm.
I work with my wife. It's my wife's business, and we work as a team.
Yeah.
So, you know, if I was completely on my own, I would just, well, I don't know. I wouldn't know where to start, to be honest.
I'm
So,
sure you would. I think you're downplaying it. I'm sure with the successes that you've had and the work that you have been doing, I'm pretty certain that you would still have achieved what you were aiming to do. From what you were saying earlier on, there's something about self-awareness, and it seemed as though you were very self-aware about your abilities and your capabilities at the time, and that honesty that you brought in around dealing with certain situations, dealing with companies, dealing with clients and things, and taking that step to make that decision yourself, that have I met those needs, or do I leave before I'm pushed? You use the word sacked,
hmm.
but it does raise questions, that being self-aware of, do I want that on my resume or my portfolio to say that I was sacked from a role, or do I leave because it's what's right for me at the time? And that says a lot about the individuals. And there must have been something in your past that's made you become the person that you are today. And I know you mentioned some of the mental health struggles.
Okay.
So let me go back to talking about what's shaped you as being the person you are today, or the leader that you are today. And with that experience, how does it show now when you're working with the clients or the people that you are today, working with today?
I think I'm very much more appreciative of people around me,
Hmm.
and um, I do a lot of training as well.
Okay.
So and training was never something on my radar.
Uh-huh.
Being a teacher was just something that just never kind of came close to being thought about. But now I love it. It's brilliant. And if I could
Fantastic. What
train every
disciplines?
day,
What disciplines
so
of training do you do?
so procurement, supply chain,
Yeah.
logistics, sales,
Uh-huh.
risk management, relationship management again.
Okay.
And it's brilliant. I love it. And I think the person I am now is different pre-breakdown, if you like, because
Hmm.
um, I'm a lot more appreciative and cognizant of those around me.
Yeah.
And a lot of my work, or a lot of my majority of my training, is Middle East focused.
Okay.
So dealing with different cultures
Yeah.
from a teaching stroke training stroke learning aspect has been
Hmm.
a significant insight for me.
Yeah.
Um, and so, I mean, the person I look at in the mirror now is probably a little more, probably actually a lot more self-aware in
Uh-huh.
terms of my actions, my
Yeah.
reactions.
Uh-huh.
And I got taught something probably 8, 9, 10 years ago, was um, event plus reaction equals outcome. So
Okay. Yeah.
you can't change the event, but you can change the reaction, which will then influence the output.
Of course.
And pre-breakdown, I guess my reactions tended to be frustration, impatience,
Hmm.
questioning, challenging, why
Yeah.
not, why not? Whereas now my reaction is very much, okay,
Uh-huh.
explain what does that mean? Um, and the outcomes are a lot different now.
Okay.
And it's something that sits inside me that, and this, this isn't just about being a leader, it's about being a human being as much as anything else with the people around me.
Yeah.
And I am far more appreciative of the negative or positive impact I can have
Wow.
on any
Okay.
given situation. Am I 100% perfect? No, sometimes I'm an absolute muppet.
Who is?
And well, yeah, but I'd like to look at, I'm happy to look at myself in the mirror and go, do you know what? You're a lot better than you were.
Excellent.
And
You
yes,
mentioned your breakdown a couple of times now, and again, I appreciate when people are honest like that. What were the signs that led to that breakdown, and what impact did it have on you as an individual, with your family, but also with your work and your clients?
well, I think somebody very close to me said, the only person that was surprised you had a breakdown was you, Andrew.
Okay.
There weren't any signs, to be honest with
Right.
you, at the time, because
Uh-huh.
I thought I was normal. Thought I was going at a million miles an hour, and this is the way it was supposed to be done. And um, but yeah, there are many signs of
Yeah.
I guess to a degree workaholism.
Uh-huh.
Um, well, to a large degree, and all that mattered was work, and
Mhm.
my family suffered big time. Um, and then at the the breakdown happened. I left the business or got paid off. And then I was sat going, what do I do now?
Yeah.
Um, so long journey of counselling and um, I guess a refocus in terms
Mhm.
of me,
Yeah,
i.e.
of course.
what do I do now?
Yeah.
How do I do it? And how do I learn and become a better person as a result of what has happened to me?
Mhm.
And yeah, there were some very uncomfortable truths
Sure.
discussed about pre-breakdown. Um, and now, yeah, I think I'm a lot more self-aware, a lot more cognizant of the fact that um, I'm gonna have bad days, and
Yeah.
I'm super logical, and if
Uh-huh.
something doesn't make sense, I can't get my head around it.
Okay.
It just does not compute.
Uh-huh.
Um, so you know, without going into too much detail, there are, as a result of the breakdown, there are other medical challenges, and I'm sat there going to the doctor, I don't get it.
Yeah.
You gotta tell me why. You gotta tell me
Yeah.
why this is happening. And they go, we don't know. And
Yeah.
I
It's
cannot get my head around that. But
it's
that's
it's
just the way it is.
no, I get it. I appreciate it. And sometimes I also have medical challenges as well, and it becomes a neurological issue where sometimes you can't add it one on one, because
Mm,
you slow down. And I think a lot of people do say that it's burnout. Um, and in the past, there was lots of different names for what people went through. And this is why it's really important that when we do talk about that relationship or responsibility as a leader, it's understanding and realizing that you've got a responsibility for your clients that you're working with. You have a responsibility for a workforce if you have them, your employees if you've got them. Um, and that does take a big toll on anyone, especially if you're doing it by yourself. And it was a question I was going to ask you earlier on about when you first took on a role as a manager, what sort of training, support, development were you offered for that role? Um, and I see you smiling or smirking. So I'm guessing probably not much.
nothing.
Right. Okay. And this is it's a shame. How did you feel at that time when you were put into that position? Yes, you apply for it, you get the role, you're put into that role to actually manage your department, your team, etc., and then you're not given any support. How does that sort of manifest into doing a good job?
I'm not sure I did. And
Right.
this
Okay.
was this was back in the day. This is many years ago. Um, and it wasn't the role I applied for. It was a role I was put into.
Okay.
And all of a sudden I had 6 people
Hmm.
working for me. Um, and thankfully they were all lovely, but they still ran rings around me.
Yeah. And you,
Only because they were so experienced. They've been doing the job for a number of years, and all of a
yeah.
sudden, this little short bloke walks in, and they go, "Well, you know, yeah, nice to meet you, but you're not going to add
Yeah.
any value because we're just going to do the same thing today we did yesterday."
Of course. But it's the point that you've just, it's something you just said. You said it wasn't the job I applied for, it was the job I was put into. And
Mm.
sometimes it makes you think, are people put into certain roles and responsibilities and set up to fail because it's the easiest way out to, it's the easiest way to manage someone out of a business, to make them feel uncomfortable?
I think, well, I think it was the opposite. Only simply
Ah,
because at that time, before we had inventory systems and computers, we were on
mhm.
kind of Rolodex cards, inventory management, and
Yeah.
because of it was basically because of my organizational skills more than anything else.
Right. Okay.
Um, and I didn't object. I'm not saying I was forced into a role by any means, but
Mhm.
I was in production planning at the time,
Okay.
and I was simply asked to move into a buying role because I understood the product I was dealing with, and they needed somebody to manage the team. So yeah, so I was asked on the I don't know, Wednesday. I started on the Monday, and
But it was still the skills that you had. They understood that you had a certain set of skills that you could utilize and use in this particular role. So it wasn't. So I'll take it back. It wasn't setting you up to fail. It was using
no,
the skills, your knowledge, experience to improve that workforce and that team.
I, got- well, I think it was about organizing the processes and the stock
Okay.
control. The team just came with that challenge.
Uh huh.
Um, I said this was in the 1990s,
Uh
so
huh.
this was before all of the kind of the fluffy people stuff, as it were. And I say fluffy in a positive way, not in a
Yeah.
negative way.
I was just going to pick up on that because there's going to be a lot of HR people watching this saying, "No, you can't call this fluffy because it's not
But
fluffy. It's serious, hard stuff."
that's because I'm an old git. So fluffy in my day was the soft skills of
Yeah,
today.
no, of course. No, of course.
Um,
Let's move on a bit, Andy. Let's talk
okay.
about beliefs about leadership. And I think we've been in sort of these sort of roles for the past 30 plus years. I've got 35 years on me in my leadership roles and consulting roles and things. Um, but I have certain beliefs that I hold that other people might sort of challenge and disagree with. Asking you the same question, what is something that you truly believe in that you do that other people, your clients, your previous managers, maybe your companies, might disagree with?
I think some people might regard me as a bit slow to deliver.
Okay.
Certainly when working for I guess in kind of the colored personality profile in red, blue, yellow, green.
Hmm.
Um, so I've worked for many reds who are very much about, I want results now, what's stopping you? I've always thought I was a blue, but actually my traits
Okay.
are yellow and green. So I'm a lot more of a communicator. I'm very methodical. I'm
Uh-huh.
structured, um, and I like to take my time.
Yeah.
I guess it's reds for me are a bit like doing an IKEA wardrobe without the instructions. Whereas I'm not going to do it unless I got the instructions.
Yeah.
So and that can be perceived as slow, as
Right.
you're not
Yeah.
instantaneous enough. You need to deliver now.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going, whoa, you just got to give me a chance to work out what's going on.
Yeah.
And so I think that would be one. I think my communication skills were pretty poor. Um, I used to be quite direct, blunt, ignorant in terms of communications until somebody taught me how to actively listen and
So
communicate and play things back.
you just said that one of your beliefs is, having to have the IKEA instructions and the materials and everything so you can make it done, have it made, um, because it's working with managers or people that are reds. But in your next sentence, you were saying that you're the sort of person or manager that was very direct, very, on top of things. So is that not you being a red person previously?
Well, I think I probably was initially.
Uh-huh.
Um, I don't think I did it's Belbin, isn't it? The personality profiling. I don't think
There's
I
a
did
few of them
that.
actually. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I did that until I was quite experienced as a manager and a leader.
Uh-huh.
Um, so I guess from that perspective, I saw a degree of maturity and growing up.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, where when I first took on the manager role in 1990s, um, I just spoke as it was
Yeah.
and kind of unfiltered. And I'd like to think I became more filtered as I became more mature.
Hmm.
So, but also, I didn't think I was being direct. I thought I was just being factual and just saying it how it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
Um, but sometimes people play back to me and go, "Whoa, whoa." Um, so yeah,
Do you
it's
realize how
it's
you
a
said this? Do you know what you said there and the impact it had on me? That sort of realization.
yeah. And again, many years ago, there was it turned into robust conversation, shall we say,
Yeah.
because we ended up with two people who perhaps weren't prepared to give way and back down, and it
Two
became,
reds.
yeah, I think so.
Uh-huh.
But again, I can only look at this in hindsight because at the time, I didn't really know how to manage, how to communicate properly. Um, I was very naive and
Uh-huh.
immature as a person. I'm going to sound a bit of a sob story, but um, so I went to a very small private school. Um, I didn't do A levels. I didn't go to university. I
Uh-huh.
finished school on the Friday with having completed my O levels. Um, Started work at my father's business on the Monday. So I
Uh-huh.
didn't really see the outside world
Right. Okay.
without the kind of the cotton wool
Uh-huh.
around me.
Yeah.
So I thought it was just normal to, not be privileged. That sounds bloody awful. Um, to
Having
be
those.
remote and protected, I guess.
Okay. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you keep being thrown into these situations. And you go, well, I wasn't prepared for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, my school size was smaller than some of the functions I've subsequently run.
Okay.
So I was so naive. It's just embarrassing when you
But
look
having
back
said
now.
that,
But
you said you did say privilege, and then you took it back. But there is an element of privilege, and I don't mean in that elite way. I think there's privilege that you knew that there was a job to go to, so therefore
yeah,
you didn't have to go down the full route of doing all examinations, etc., because there was a job in the family business, and
Mm.
that's different in itself. But then you have the other challenges there because then you're part of the family business, don't you? And you have other
Yeah,
responsibilities that are laid upon you when you're working for your father, so to speak.
yes, yeah. I mean, my father was always my role model in terms
Hmm.
of leadership. Um,
Yeah.
I think it's quite natural for certainly boys to look at their father as that natural leader. Sadly, the business failed after 4 years of having me joined. Hopefully not to do 100% with me, but then it became very real world, because then all of a
Yeah.
sudden I was having to go and find a job
Hmm.
that I didn't really think I would ever need to do. Again,
Sure.
the naivety was go and work for your father, take over the business, etc., etc. And then all of a sudden, my father became ill. We lost the business, we lost the house, we lost
Oh, wow.
everything.
So dramatic impact.
Yeah.
So
And as a 20-year-old, you kind of sat there going, what do I do now?
yeah, that this leads into my next question then, Andy, because we talk. My next question is about pressure, and everyone deals with pressure in different ways and struggles maybe with pressure in different ways as well. Um, but when the pressure is the highest, in the past, who did you become? And after all the experiences with the different types of pressures you've been put under, um, who have you become now? So what are the differences from then to now?
Oh gosh. I think then this was before you as a man you can never show emotions or weakness,
Mm.
or certainly
In
as
the
a
olden days, in inverted commas.
yes, and certainly as a family we were never overly emotional. We were
Mhm.
never cuddly cutie sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I guess I grew up um trying to be thick-skinned, trying to
Mhm.
be not distant, but emotions in the workplace, or emotions full stop, were just
Yeah.
completely foreign to me.
Uh-huh.
Um, and the person I've subsequently become, I am very emotional.
Mhm.
Um, so I still cry at the national anthem when I go to Cardiff for the rugby. That's
Excellent.
that, but then a lot of people do. But
Yeah.
I am an emotional person. I couldn't understand the when I was younger why,
Sure.
and I regard it as a failing, because if I'm showing emotions or having challenges emotionally, surely that's a sign of weakness.
Mhm.
And as a leader or a manager, you
Yeah.
can't do that. That's just frowned upon. So
Mm. You've said it a
um,
few times about situations that you found yourself in and that you found it as a failing. Um, and there's many people out there, myself included, that would say, "Well, actually, now that you're more aware of it, that's not a failing. Uh, that's more of a strong assault on who you are as a person. That you're a stronger person. That you can see that you think you failed there, but you're then questioning why, and then moving on to find out what the solutions would be to that."
I think now, yes, I think
Mm.
now I've utilized the many years of, I can't think of the right word, experiences,
Mhm.
and having reflected through counseling as much as through subsequent roles and training, and
Yeah,
a lot more people interaction, and I guess wanting to learn how I can become more positive, if
sure,
effective, if you
sure.
like. And certainly with the training, because if I'm going to be stood in front of a class for 3 days delivering on something, they've got to be able to look at me and go, not, oh, he's quite nice, isn't he? But
Mm,
actually look at me and go, yeah, I can understand he's communicating well, he's supportive, he's listening to me. Um, and that interaction is so important.
of course.
Um,
I
Sorry, go
do
on.
the same thing. Yeah, no, I'm like you. I believe that the interaction is extremely important because they do look at you as being the person with all the answers, and it does put a different type of pressure on you because the expectancy is that you should know everything that you're talking about. However, it's also bringing in that element of, I don't have all the answers, but I'm here to have that conversation with you, and let's see if we can find the solution together. So yeah, it's one of those things, and I'm also mindful of other people's situations, and what are they going through, what sort of pressures are they going through when they're turning up at one of my training sessions. And is it because they're being forced into this, and they don't want to be there, or are they actually coming there because they do genuinely want to learn? And you mentioned earlier on, you're doing a lot of work out in the Middle East, and it's one of those places, you talk about culture. Culture is one of those places, when you look at Middle East, there's a high element of a very dictatorial culture because of the way that they operate. So this is where, when you use the terminology fluffiness, this is when they don't like HR because it's too fluffy, because you're almost overprotecting the workforce so that work can't get done. But that's when that's when we sort of come into our elements. I'm assuming, because that takes the pressure off of us, because we can see the pressure there and help them overcome those pressures. Would I be right in sort of saying that, thinking that?
The thing that's helped me develop over the last number of years as a trainer is the interaction with the delegates. And yeah, not everybody wants to be there. Quite a few people feel they have to be, or have been told
Sure.
that they need to attend. So you can quickly work out who they are.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And the same as you're managing people, you need to not manage, or you need to interact with the delegates in a different way in some case, because you're going to get the loud ones at the back,
Sure.
maybe the quiet ones, to the far side, out of the
Yeah.
way. Please don't talk to me. So it's a question of, how do you interact without making them feel uncomfortable? And not everybody wants to stand up in front of a class and present back the findings of a group exercise,
Of
for
course.
example. So it's no good forcing the issue. And I
No.
think I'm a lot more appreciative of the awkwardness or the challenges
Mm,
that people have when it comes to doing things that's not in their comfort zone.
yeah.
I think the person before, the old me, would have stood there and gone, well, I can do it, so why
Yeah.
can't you? It just,
Yes. Yeah.
and really, that's where a lot of my problems stem from that very attitude
Right.
of,
Okay.
well, I understand it, I
Yeah.
get it, so I don't understand why nobody else gets it. And that was
Yeah.
my naivety and
Right.
um,
Okay.
blinkeredness, I guess, if that's a word.
No, you're right, and I think that comes into sort of relationships you have with maybe your children, and when I'm teaching my son to drive, I'm thinking, it's I know how to do it. How come you're not getting it? I'm trying to be a really good teacher to you, but then I forget that my learning style is totally different to theirs. And,
Mm.
it's about raising their anxiety levels in a pretty dangerous situation when they're sitting at a steering wheel of a car driving down the road doing 30 miles per hour. And you're saying, well,
Yes.
why can't you get it? And that brings in other challenges. Andy, I've got my last question for you. And it's about having honest conversations. What's an honest conversation you feel you need to be having with yourself?
I have lots of honest conversations with myself,
Okay.
to be upfront about it.
Uh-huh.
It's
Give
part
me
of my
one.
mind. Well, it's part of my mindfulness.
Okay.
And my question is always, are you doing something because you want to, or are you doing something because you feel you have to?
Uh-huh.
And pre-breakdown, in my mind, it was the same question, because if I'm doing
Okay.
it, it means I want to. Whereas actually, a lot of times out of 10, I was feeling I had to do it, which
Mhm.
translated into wanting to do it. So I did many things I didn't really want to do. Um, Whereas now I look at things and go, do I really want to do that?
Yeah.
And
Okay.
it's it's almost become, it's okay to say no.
Hmm.
Whereas I wouldn't dream of saying no to anything.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, but now it's a question of, no, no, I'm comfortable being honest and saying, I'd rather not do that. I'd
Excellent.
rather not go there.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, I've got quite a few mindfulness
Uh-huh.
things that allow me to take myself out of this almost ever
Maelstrom.
decreasing circle of of when I get anxious
Uh-huh.
or um, fearful almost.
Okay. And
Uh,
there's something you said there again, about I'm able to say no. You know, it's my choice. I
mm,
can say no. And that's something that I talk a lot about with people on my leadership courses or even on my managing courses. It's about having the courage to say no to somebody when you know that it might raise your anxieties, might create a
mm,
different type of mental distraction, which is not how we want our people to be. It's about making sure that our people or the people that we're working with are comfortable. And I have this conversation a lot with a lot of my clients during consulting sessions, saying, you know, yes, you're listening to not my advice, but my questions. But at what point are you able to say no to that department or no to that manager or no to that person because of the extra pressures it's putting onto people? So, Andy, I'm going to say thank you so much for your time today. And I truly appreciate the honesty and, yeah, the honesty about you talking about your well-being and the mental challenges you've had. And it's that in itself, I think, is leadership showing itself, because not many leaders are able to turn around and say, "I've gone through this," or "I've struggled with this." But using it as part of your experiences. And you mentioned about your counseling, and people forget that whenever we talk about counseling, there's two forms of counseling. So you've got your methodology where people are helping you with your well-being and your betterness. Um, but even as consultants, we do that with our clients as well. We inadvertently are counseling our clients to help them think about how to improve their business, how to improve their workforce, so as that they don't face the same challenges that we may
yeah,
face on a personal level, or on a professional level. And generally, I've mentioned I have illnesses, and I deal with those as well. When I talk about them when I work with my clients, and I try and convert them into a business environment, just so that they understand that when we struggle personally, it's similar to professional challenges. Um, but in the future, we'll be doing some more becoming the leader in you podcasts, as live sessions. And one of the podcasts that we will be doing as live session is going to be talking about wellness and the impact of leadership and the challenges, the mental challenges, that it can have. And it'd be wonderful to have you back as a guest on that, a team panel, to
yeah,
talk about
it's very
this.
kind of you. Yes, I'd be very happy to support.
Fantastic. So, again, I'd like to say thank you so much for your time today. And I know that a lot of people will be able to relate to what you spoke about today. And firstly, they'll probably be thinking, I've gone through that, but I've not spoken to anyone about it. Or I've dealt with that and I feel very difficult because I am a manager and I can't be sharing this with other people because I have to show that I am a leader. But
Mm.
sometimes people are allowed to show their emotions and their fragility and their vulnerability, because that does make them a stronger person when they're able to share it. So hopefully there's one, two, three people out there that listen to your experiences and find out what they can do about it. But if somebody wanted to get in touch with you and what you do, tell us a bit more about Twisted Orange first. What does Twisted Orange do?
It's a company of two halves, really. So my wife started it in 2016.
Hmm.
My wife is a foodie, um, and it was all around helping organizations develop their food offering products,
Uh-huh.
probably predominantly into retail. Um, Now she's very much focused on nutritional
Okay.
products and how we can look at more nutrition in healthy diets, etc. So
Sure.
she does all that clever stuff. I'm a procurement supply chain bard who consults, transform or supports clients going through transformation, but also training
Excellent.
around procurement and supply chain, logistics, relationship management, etc.
Fantastic.
And if anybody does want to talk to me, then I'm
Yep.
obviously on LinkedIn. You could have a look at our website. There we go, Twisted-Orange. Yeah, please get in touch. Even if it's just feedback on this. I'm always this is another new me. I'm always welcoming of
Excellent.
feedback, whereas before I was absolutely petrified of feedback, so I tried to ignore it as best I could. Whereas now, please, come and talk.
Excellent.
And the other thing I would say is, I know consultants sometimes get a bad name, but not all advice costs money.
True.
And if you want to have a discussion, a chat, then please just get in touch. No problems
You're
at
a
all.
star. Thank you so much again for your time today.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
you're most welcome. Before we finish, I'd just like to remind everyone that you have been watching the Becoming the Leader in You podcast. And we are on YouTube, as I say. Please do subscribe, do the sharing, do the commenting. It's all appreciated. We're also on Amazon, Apple, and Spotify. But from me today, I'd just like to say thank you for listening or watching. I've been Jay Acharya from Aspire Consulting and Trading. And this has been Andy Neilson from Twisted-Orange. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Before we finish, today's episode touched on mental health, pressure, resilience, and the reality that many leaders carry far more than people realize. So if anything from today's conversation felt familiar, please check in on yourself too. Support is there, and speaking up is always a strength, not a weakness. I've added links to organizations that can help you. You're not alone. Thank you.